Hello my wonderful, beautiful friends, guys, welcome back to our /MaliciousCompliance, where people follow exact orders to spite someone. And in today's episode, we've got smug Karen idiots, shady insurance companies, power-tripping engineers, and one OP tells a story about the time a new Karen boss comes in and tries to save money, and it ends up costing big time. It's an episode you don't want to miss. Guys, I hope you enjoy the stories. Don't shake your heads too hard, and as always, you can send or link your post to this email right here. Let's dive in. So my parents had a house fire recently, no fault of theirs. And while the house didn't burn to the ground, and this is important for later, it's basically a total loss due to heat, smoke, water damage, and structural damage. They have great replacement insurance. While the long wait for restoration and replacement will be frustrating, they're in as good of a situation as one could hope for. They also have one of those appliance service plans where they pay monthly. If any covered appliance isn't working properly, the service company will send someone out to troubleshoot. They'll then repair it, and if it can't be repaired, they'll replace it. My parents have the total coverage plan, including everything from kitchen to laundry to the freezer chest and the mudroom fridge. Since the house is uninhabitable, they called to cancel the service and ask about prorating this month. My mom explains the situation, and the rep on the phone says, sorry, they can't prorate this month, nor can they cancel the service for the next payment cycle, even though they're in the middle of this payment cycle. Basically, it'll be about 45 more days of paying for coverage. My mom then states that they're dealing with the stress of a house fire, and they're living in short-term housing. My mom says, I understand you can't prorate this month, but can you at least cancel the service for next month based on our situation? The rep says, well, I'm happy to cancel the service effective today, if that's what you really want, but you'll still have to pay for this month and next month. Now, I can tell you from personal experience, it's a bad idea to get cute with my mom. My mom then says, okay, no, we aren't going to cancel a service we still have to pay for. Please keep the service in place. Instead, I would like to file a claim on all of our appliances. There's a pause, and the rep then says, you can't do that on appliances destroyed by fire. To which my mom then says, oh no, the house was damaged, but the appliances weren't destroyed. And since this plan is effective through next month, please start a claim to send a service rep to the house for all of our covered appliances to do any repairs or replacements as needed. There's another pause, and then the rep asked her to hold. A few minutes later, a supervisor gets on the line, and she says that due to the circumstances, they're happy to make an exception to cancel coverage early if she would like. My mom says, yes, thank you. The post ends right there, guys, but well played, mom. And seriously, I always love it when customers are smarter than the corporations at their very own game. And guys, I'm sure there are some out there that'll agree with me on this one when I say, I do wish OP's mom followed through with the claim. Like, you refused the easy option, so no, I refuse the cancellation. I'd like somebody to come out right now. Let me know your thoughts on this one. So I used to work in a pawn shop as both a sales associate and a pawnbroker. I have so many stories that I could probably fill this subreddit, but this one always makes me smile because of how smug this man was. When I was a sales associate, I sold a lot of jewelry. I often had to tell people that we couldn't hold items because A, someone might come in and they would want it and they would have the money right there and then, and B, we had a layaway program. So unless you put some money down, 20%, holding it wasn't an option. So that said, one day, this man comes in, and he's looking for a very specific type of ring. A diamond channel set anniversary ring in white gold, size number 5. The pawn shop I worked at had a vast collection of these types of things, in many sizes and with many different carat weights. The guy needed a specific size and a specific carat weight, and he was very much in luck because we happened to have it. Most pawn shops are you get what you see, and you can see what you get. Basically, we don't have inventory or stock of any specific item, and our jewelers are for sizing and dipping purposes only. So I show him my ring that I have in the case. I say to him, here you go, exactly the size you need and just over the carat weight. The man then pulls out a loop and he looks at the diamonds and he says, okay, they're not as clear as I normally like them. I respond, yes, I understand, but the price is only $350, and at a regular jewelry store, this would easily run $1,500 or more. So while the clarity isn't as nice, it's still a really good deal, and I don't know if you'll find another one this size with the same carat weight. The man sighs and says, okay, well, I know your sister's store also has some rings, right? Do you think they might have a better one with better quality? At this time, there's a woman looking at the rings, and she's clearly listening to our conversation, but I'm positive he hasn't noticed her. The woman sees the ring in my hand, and I can see her eyebrow go up. I then respond and say, I'm not sure, but they're a smaller store, so their inventory is smaller. If they do have one, there isn't a guarantee the ring will be the correct size or the same carat weight. The man then says, okay, well, can you hold the ring for me? I want to go see their inventory. To which I respond, I'm sorry, we can't. Company policy is that all items held must be put on layaway for holding. If someone wants to buy an item and it isn't in layaway, we don't want to stop them. The man then says, well, you know what, I'm gonna hold off and go check that store. If someone comes in and sees this specific ring, and believe me, I don't think anyone is going to, then yeah, go ahead and sell it, but I doubt that's gonna happen. The guy then walked away with a kind of a smug look on his face. Just as he left, the woman who was listening to our conversation walks up. She then says, hey, can I see that ring he didn't want? I then hand it over to her and the woman slips it on her finger and she smiles and says, I'll take it. The woman didn't even hesitate. She straight up bought this ring after wearing it for 5 seconds. During ring outs, I asked her why. And she said she'd been searching for a channel set ring for a few years at the pawn shops, but none had caught her eye like that one, and it happened to be her size, which can be hard to find. I told her to have a nice day and cleaned it before she left. About 45 minutes later, the smug man walks back in. The guy says to me, okay, they didn't have anything, so I guess I'll take that one I was looking at. To which I respond, I'm sorry, sir, but just after you left, a woman came up, tried the ring on, and she bought it. I don't have any more in the carat weight you're looking for, but I do have some in the higher carat weights if you're interested. The guy loses it and says, are you effing serious? You knew I would be back. Why did you sell it? My wife would have loved that ring. That's when I tell him, well, you did say that I should if someone came in and saw it. Just because you think something's not gonna happen doesn't mean it can't. What a great malicious compliance, and seriously, that's what he gets for being all, but I doubt anybody will buy this stupid ring. I also wouldn't be surprised if the lady who bought that ring did it to spite the guy just a little bit. That said though, potential future sale versus a sale for sure, like right now, decisions, right? So I'm a long-time lurker, and I'm happy to have my own story to share. Here's a bit of background. I work as a machine operator in a factory-type setting. I'm responsible for 2 lines of moving product with a fairly simple job of keeping the machines running and basic quality control. I've held my current position for 3 years, and frankly, most weeks, I spend more time with these machines than my own wife. I know when something isn't right. Our engineering department doesn't always agree. So that said, 2 days ago, one of my 2 machines begins making a clanking sound. I give it a quick once-over, and it seems that 2 metal parts are slapping together, probably a loose bolt. So I grab a radio and call for an engineer. I think to myself, oh great, it's one of the newer ones, fresh out of school. The guy listens to it run for a few minutes, and he says, it's running fine, why would you call me out here? I respond, don't you hear that noise? He responds, it's fine, the machine always sounds like that. He then makes a note in his log and then leaves. The machine's still operational, and my shift ends in 20 minutes, so I let it go. The next day, I come in for my shift and it's still making the same noise. I ask the previous shift operator about it. They repeat a similar story with the same engineer. 3 hours into my shift, the noise has gone from occasional to near constant. I call for an engineer to come check it out again. Our newest engineer comes down and he says, "What's wrong this time?" I say to him, "You seriously don't hear that? Can you just give it a quick check?" He then says, "You guys seriously need to stop calling us down here for this. Look at it, it's running fine. You're just wasting our time." The guy then makes another note in his log and then walks off. 4 hours later, the clanging's gotten louder and the machine's beginning to jostle with each impact. Of course, I'm concerned and I call again for an engineer. This time, the guy doesn't even bother inspecting the machine. The guy comes down and he's furious. He says, "Damn it, I told you it's fine. Don't call us back down here unless it breaks." Cue the malicious compliance. I run it as is for the rest of my shift. The noise and movement of the machine is growing worse the entire time. I check it every other hour. Hasn't broken yet. I then inform the relief shift of what's going on and then go home. So yeah, I come in today and the noise is nearly deafening and the entire product line is shaking with the strength of the impact. The previous shift informs me that the engineering department still hasn't looked at it. So I stop the machine and I give it a quick look. Still not broken. I run it as is. 10 hours into my shift, we're suddenly bombarded with a symphony of metallic noises and screeches. Half the machine is now on the floor, while the other half just gyrates wildly as it attempts to continue. I press the emergency stop button and then make the call. The engineer begins to complain before he even makes it to my line saying, "Listen, damn it, I told you." And then, as soon as he sees it, he says, "What the hell did you do to the machine?" To which I tell him it broke. For the last 2 hours of my shift, I enjoyed the luxury of only having to focus on one of my product lines, and the blissful noises of our good friend being royally chewed out by his boss, as an entire engineering crew is now attempting to salvage the machine. When I clocked out, it was still lying in ruins. Yeah, hopefully the junior engineer learned his lesson after getting screamed at. And seriously, I don't know what it is about being in the trades, but speaking from experience, guys, nobody I ever worked with was proactive when it came to this kind of stuff. Like, they all just wait until things blow right up and then start scrambling and panicking. Like, get ready to pay loads of overtime to catch up. But yeah, also speaking from experience, sometimes engineers aren't so smart and they don't know everything. Like, maybe listen to the guy who runs the machine every day for years, and you won't have a hefty repair bill after the machine spontaneously disassembles itself. I wonder what that looked like. Many years ago, I worked for a company that hired an incredibly obtuse financial department who took over when they first organized. It used to be a loose collection of managers, but the year after I started, they went for a more organized and separate structure. And to be fair, this is more about my boss than myself. On to the story. We had a travel team, a group of volunteers from sales and IT, who would go in a large group with equipment and techs to do setups, displays, and network at trade shows. We had a booth, some sales guys would be there, and networking would commence. There was always a set of volunteers from the IT department because some of the shows would be in big cities, and you'd get to attend vendor events, parties, and hang out with the sales guys who were mostly gay alcoholics for some reason and super fun. There was a kind of seniority on who got to volunteer, but nobody really complained and everyone got rotated who got to go. It would be like, you got to go to DEF CON last year, it's my turn now. Okay, fair. The travel team lead was also a volunteer position, but commonly it was someone high up, like a manager. Their job was to orchestrate equipment, rentals, expenses, travel plans, convention center fees, and shipping. They also ended up getting a lot of free stuff too, from sales and our partners, which they would pass along to the travel team. It was all kind of a perk, to be fair, for everyone involved. But when the new director of finance started, the Karen, she put in some new and strict policies. Some of their policies started with 1. The travel team is not allowed to get reimbursed without explicit approval, and nobody was approved post-event. Number 2. The travel team does not get a credit card of their own, or even a company card. Number 3. The travel team gets gift cards for a set amount, like $150, which was to be used for all expenses. Sadly, the places we needed it for, like airlines, rental agencies, hotel rooms, gas pumps, and toll booths, do not accept gift cards. And the thing is, finance denied that these were gift cards, and even specifically disallowed people in meetings to refer to them as such. But to the rest of the world, they were 100% exactly the same as gift cards, with gift card restrictions. Number 4. No matter how early you asked for it, often finance waited until the very, very last minute, and usually after half a dozen reminders to get anything approved, which incurred a lot of unnecessary costs like expedited shipping, same-day rental penalties, or inflated airfares. And lastly, number 5. If they forgot, it was all your fault or your manager's fault for not reminding them enough. It doesn't matter if you reminded them 4 times to buy the team airline tickets and it wasn't done. You should have reminded them 5 times, so it's all your fault. This was all in response to the director of finance's claim that it would reduce fraud, which is an issue that, as far as anyone could tell, had never happened. The director had this Dolores Umbridge approach that somebody somewhere might get away with something. She was a patronizing woman with a smug grin and this annoying head waggle when she downsplained something to you. So we'll call her Dolores, as Karen's overused. Before her, the travel team would just submit receipts and get reimbursed. Dolores put an end to that, specifically saying that the previous lead of the travel team was, quote, just gonna spend all the money on steaks and wine. He understandably told her to go F herself, and he quit the company when the dust settled. In his wake, Dolores used his free stuff from vendors as a shining example of stolen opulence and swag hoarding that she put an end to. Oh, behold, the mighty on his throne of Airborne Express stress squishies and free Uline catalogs. That left my manager to take over his duties, and he had never done travel team, so he wasn't really sure on how it all worked. And he didn't push back on Dolores at first until he was forced to travel with the team. He was surprised he didn't have an expense account or a corporate card. And when he asked for one, he got the gift card. When he tried to use it, it was rejected pretty much everywhere he needed it, except for various restaurants. He paid for everything else on his personal American Express card, including stuff for the rest of the team, and was rejected for reimbursements because he didn't ask for it beforehand. He was on the hook for $40,000 plus in various things from 2-week-long trips. Of course, he complained to top management. Dolores threatened to quit if she wasn't allowed to do her job, and the managers never had to deal with her before, and they were kind of wishy-washy about being the bad guy here. They said something like, well, she lets you use the gift cards, so... And when my manager said they were rejected, Dolores said, he's not trying hard enough. He's afraid of confrontation. He needs to be a big boy and fight back. But in the end, the top management reimbursed him under pressure from the legal department. After that happened, Dolores settled on having certain things prepaid for, like hotel, travel, truck rentals, and shipping. But here's the thing. They waited so long to do them that often they tried to get hotel rooms or truck rentals the day of a popular event, which was sold out, or they would get the wrong hotel, or they waited so long for shipping that it cost $250 to send something overnight that would have cost $40 to send it a few weeks prior. They also didn't understand how much anything actually cost, and how we saved money by doing things ourselves. And in some cases, finance did everything wrong. So the team would arrive at the right hotel, and they would find out that finance did not submit an authorized approval for a card. and nobody could reach them, so again, people got dinged on their personal cards. Again, Dolores said, they just can't accept what the hotel desk, convention center union, or dumb minimum wage bunny at the toll booth tells them. They have to fight back. We can't spoon feed and coddle these guys just because they're too scared of conflict. Ever fight with a Jersey Turnpike toll booth collector? Yeah, neither had she. So after 2 of these disasters, my manager said, just stop. Stop volunteering for these events. I will not approve time off for it. He declined being travel lead for future trips because he just couldn't afford it. And this was an unpopular move at best, but he told us, just wait, let her do things her way. He was a master at malicious compliance, and with no real resistance, Dolores went into 5th gear with a smug grin, saying to us, now we're gonna act like a real company. And that leads to the next issue. Some of these travels were in major cities like Chicago, New York City, Washington, D.C., etc. And Dolores again said people were just going to these events to get the company to pay for a drinking vacation. Management was like, yeah, we wouldn't get volunteers otherwise. Well, Dolores didn't like that idea. She then decided that she would hold a staff lottery, and you could enter your name and she would have a drawing on who got to go, to be fair to everyone. This fairness seems awfully slanted on her own staff, by the way, which we'll get to shortly. Now, the point of these trade shows was not to take a vacation, something Dolores made absolutely sure to point out. But she didn't grasp the entire reason that we went was to increase our business. It had to be IT folk for setup and sales folk for all the schmoozing, but that concept never got past her ears into her brain. Well, since those IT and tech folk who already couldn't go didn't want to pay for it, we didn't volunteer. So the travel team ends up being other company staff who had no idea how to work, act, or deal with trade shows, which was a horrific expense disaster. Imagine the administrative assistant for marketing on the 5th floor winning a ticket, only to find out that she had to pay for everything. Plus, Dolores always sent one of her own to keep an eye on everyone, but none of them knew how trade shows worked either. They only knew how to suck up to Dolores and her control issues. What's a union fee? What is corkage? No, we did not approve some union to give us power. You plug your booth stuff into an outlet or something. Oh, they won't let you? Who's they? Well, then stop using TV screens in the booth. You don't need them as we don't sell TVs anyways. Now, did you know that if you have a conflict with an event center union and decline their help, they'll charge you anyways at max rate? Yeah, Dolores and her team did not know that either. And let me tell you, paying those guys a few $1,000s ahead of time is a lot cheaper than letting them charge you fines afterwards. And oh, did she try to fight back because she was not afraid of a little conflict. Of course, she lost heavily. Ironically, despite Dolores stating otherwise at great length, the non-IT, non-salespeople who went actually thought it was company-paid vacation, just like Dolores warned about, making it a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. The fact that they had to work was surprising at first, and then after word got out, nobody would enter into the lottery, so now they had no volunteers. So Dolores, being a genius she was, assigned them to interns. Interns. Now, I could write an entire novel from that disaster alone. Imagine sending a bunch of college kids to Vegas, telling them that they had to pay for their own things, and putting them in a job conflict situation where they were guaranteed to lose. I'm sure many laws were broken. Dolores then had to send along chaperones to manage it, who were more of her finance department flunkies, and our company ends up with massive fines for various issues, including paying bail for the interns. Because the interns got into so much trouble, Dolores started hiring room monitors for the hotels, and fully legal adults had to go to the show, work the entire day at the show on their feet, and then check back into their room. She also put 4 to 6 people to a room too, like they were a high school band or something. She even had breathalyzers bought for it to make sure that nobody was drinking, and these were adults. She treated adults like this. This was brought up by the sales team as a PR nightmare, and my boss just said, just wait, okay, let her hang herself. The first year of this, the travel team's expenses increased by over 4,000%. You heard me, 4,000%. Trips that used to cost $3,600 were now costing $144,000 or more, often because of last-minute fees and penalties. The travel team expenses went from $110,000 annual on average to over 2-point-something million. Because things were so badly mishandled, we lost a lot of our booth slots and booth renewals, so we lost half our trade shows, and we just looked like idiots to our clients. But the main reason we went to those trade shows in the first place was for networking, so there was literally no reason to go anymore. This was pointed out to Dolores multiple times by the sales team, and she just doubled down and canceled the travel team just after 1 year. Top management finally got involved, who actually fought with Dolores for a year, until she, quote, retired for personal reasons to dedicate herself to her family. And then, it took nearly 2 years to rebuild the travel team from scratch. People got expense cards, and travel team lead became an actual job. And when we hired one, she handled all the financial stuff for us, so it was much better. She saved the company a ton of money in her first year, and there was so much rejoicing. It's just funny how things literally went back to the way it was before when Dolores left. Edit. So why was she not fired when the spending went from $110,000 to $2.1 million? The answer is several reasons, the biggest being that she was the director of finance. So I'm sure when she gave her fiscal report, she downplayed the mistakes. We also had some really good years in the early 2000s. So if we made $2 million profit the previous year and $3 million the next, that loss would have gone unnoticed until somebody realized that we should have made $6 million instead. Dolores was also friends of 2 of the top managers and supposedly had a come-to-Jesus meeting with them about the state of our company's financial standings, so that's why they hired her in the first place. By the second year, several directors had quit, including friends of top management who took them for drinks later and got the entire scoop. They said, Dolores has got to go. The trade show thing was only one of the cases that she effed up. She also completely hosed one of our major supply chains by lowballing them, and she made a lot of enemies that nearly destroyed the company. She also gave away some of our more lucrative contracts with vendors to competitors, because that broke their anti-competitive clauses. There were more issues, but that comes closer to identifying some people, which is a huge no-no here. So how was she let go? She just gained too many enemies in the company. It did take a while, but after she had been with us for a year and a half, she accumulated too much negative drag on her inertia to get things done, because there started to be a very strong passive resistance. This caused her to spiral out of control and try to start a coup, which gained no traction and singled her out as being mildly unhinged, to say the least. By the time her second anniversary came and went, she started talking sabbaticals until one of them became permanent. Her assistant took over, but then was let go, and they brought in some consultant group who started a new financial team. They were the ones that suggested that somebody have the table team lead as an actual separate paid job. The woman who got hired and ran that was amazing. What a story that was, guys, and seriously, it absolutely floors me how in these cases, upper management can't see that this person was actually subtracting value from the company. Like maybe she was a bit too buddy-buddy with the upper managers and they just let her do her thing. I have no idea. But even if I was good friends with somebody who I worked with, like turning a $4,000 expense into $144,000 is bonkers. Like first time, maybe, let it slide, but second time, you gotta go. Like we can't afford to pay you because we're paying for all of your mistakes. And don't even get me started on the enemy she created, the contract she gave away, and how she treated those grown adult interns like children. In my opinion, she should have been fired long ago. Guys, let me know your thoughts on that post. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of r/malicious-compliance. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's stories. If you did, hit that thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing so you don't miss these crazy stories. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, it's an r/I don't work here lady, where Karens are thinking that everyone's on Earth to serve them. It's such a wild episode, so go check it out if you haven't, and myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.